Hey guys, I wanted to do an update video to show some of the improvements that have been made over the past couple days since the last video was posted. I didn't get a chance last time to go through all the fighters that have had their specials and projectiles included. Part of that was because with the pit arena fatality, there's both a memory leak that's occurring and an issue with the 3DO cells being kind of linked in an infinite loop that was causing issues. That's since been corrected, but there's still some issue going on where it works fine on the emulators, but it's not working like it's supposed to on hardware. So I'm not going to do the pit arena fatality, but I'm going to go through everything else. And a lot of what I've done over the past week as well is kind of tighten things up so that the code and the way that things happen is much more uniform, and the animations follow a lot more closely to how they actually looked in the original arcade. Or at least eyeballed to what I think they should look like. So certain things happen, like if you're jumping and you transition to a different state for an animation, it'll transition back to the jump where it was to land smoothly. So I'm going to go into casual mode and demo that. So right now the fighters that should be done, I'm going to pull in player 2 also. So the 4 at the top, so Liu Kang is done as far as I'm aware. Kung Lao is mostly done. He's got one move that's left, but I can show him as well. Johnny Cage should be done. Reptile should be done. Kitana should be done. Baraka and Scorpion are done. So making pretty good progress. Kung Lao is still a work in progress. But what I've been trying to do is go from who I thought was going to be the most difficult to the least difficult. So in theory, it should get faster and faster as I go. One other thing too is you can cycle through, and I think I've shown this before, but for every fighter you can cycle through multiple different palettes. So here's Liu Kang, Reptile. And then with all the arenas, there's 3 different versions of every arena as well. So I'm going to press, if you press A, B, or C, you'll get a different version of the arena. So I'm going to press the B button here, and I'm going to get dark mode. Alright, so Liu Kang's moves, and what should be happening is, so with this here, you can see how, and I don't know if this is exactly how the arcade does it, but this is how I did it, and I'm going to actually slow things down a little bit so you can see it better. Oops, there's the hitboxes, I didn't mean to do that. So I'm slowing things down 4 times, and I'm going to block with Reptile. So forward, I kick. So the way that his animation works is as he moves forward, it's just increasing his Y position up until he hits the opponent. And then when he either makes impact or either damage or the opponent blocks, it transitions back to the jump up animation. So this one here, at where it should be based on what the fighter's current height is. So I've done that with a lot of the animation so far. I'm not certain that everything's been fixed, but as far as I know, but I guess we'll find out in a minute. So there's this, here in the air, and then Reptile, if he's in the air, should take damage and fall back, and the smoke should follow him. It's hard to do this by myself with 2 hands, but yep, okay. There's this low one. Then the bicycle kick, so if I hold low kick, I just made it be 3 seconds. Okay. Throw. Now I'm going to switch over to Reptile. So put that controller down and pick Reptile. So I know that there's an issue with his acid spit, so that needs to be fixed. It's going to, it's interesting. Sometimes it just does it forever, over and over, so I need to dig into what the deal is with that. If I hold block and I press up, down, punch, let go. There's his invisibility. And you can make that go away by taking damage, or by just doing the move again. He also has this ball thing. What is it? So, 1, 2, 3, there we go. And you can see that the opponent's animation is a little bit weird. It follows basically the same animation path as the throw, but it probably needs to be smoothed a little bit. Another thing that I've added here just for testing and for benchmarking, if I press the L and R button, so I can press C to turn on or off hitboxes, which slows down performance. But it's interesting to have them. Turn this back off. I'm going to turn on, so over on the top left, so the goal of this game is to hit 60 frames per second, and to do that, everything has to happen within, so all the game loop logic has to happen in under 16.6 milliseconds. 16.6 times 60 is 1 second. So in the top left, we have the draw cells call, which on this arena is around 13,000, so 13 milliseconds. And then some other functions that are being tracked as well. So the handle input loop, the animate fighters, animate damage, and then there's another function that goes through and hides any of the cells that are off the screen to make the rendering time faster. And then what's on the very bottom is the VRAM and the DRAM. It's cycling through both of those to make sure I have both enough memory and the same exact amount of memory that I'm seeing when I'm testing on the emulator. So I'm going to back up from these two. Let's be player one. I'll show Kung Lao where he's currently at. That's his standard, and I'll show Johnny Cage too. Green looks good. It's kind of interesting as I'm doing this, getting very familiar with all the fighters. And when I was growing up, I really only used Liu Kang and Baraka. But in doing the animations, it seems like Kung Lao would be very overpowered, so he's probably a fighter I'm going to be using a lot more. The moves I have going for him so far are his hat throw. There's no blood yet on the opponent. Now what should happen is if the opponent is blocking, you should actually play a different animation and bounce the hat back. Yep. Okay. And then there's also, you can see after the animation happens, at the same time there's another effect where his hat gets redrawn on his head. Come on. I need to make sure that this happens on this side too. Yep. Okay. He's got this other one where, so if you press up, up, down, low kick. Did I do that right? Oh, just low kick. And then if you keep tapping low kick, he'll keep spinning like that. And if Cage were to walk into him, yep. Cool, so that one's good. And then he's got this one here. And in the arcade, there's a combo that you can do. Yeah, just like that. So I'm glad to see that that's working like it's supposed to. So the only one that Kung Lao is missing right now is his, you like jump up through the air and then you end up behind the opponent. So I need to get that one going. So I'll hopefully in the next couple of days get that finished up. I'm going to switch over to Johnny Cage now and show where he's at. Back forward low kick. That one's kind of cool. So the way that this one works, for all the fighters, is there's a function pointer, or pointer function, whatever the term is, that handles all of their specials and multiple projectiles and special effects in addition. So what I'm doing for him is when it animates his effects, it's just taking the current frame, and every fighter has 4 different effect frames that are typically not visible on the screen unless they're needed. Excuse me. With Johnny Cage, so it just takes the current frame and then makes frame 4 of his special be that one, and then on the next animation it moves 4 to 3, and then the newest one goes to 4, and so forth until it gets through all of them. So if Johnny Cage is attacked or whatever, well, the point is basically whatever the frames are, it doesn't have to just be part of the special. If he takes damage while he's doing the special, you'll see that effect follow for a second until the effect goes away. Because it only lasts for a quick second. So he's got his nut punch there. All right, so Kung Lao's reaction is not coded yet. That's why it's doing that. What it normally does is he'll go down and then shake back and forth for 20 frames. So some of the fighters that's done, some of the fighters it's not. So this one as well. And then he has two different versions of his projectile. There's that one, which is, you can't really tell, but it's like 18 different sprites that make up that animation, plus the impact effect. And then if we do high punch, it follows a slightly different arc and it goes higher. So Kung Lao jumps, takes damage there. And I'm also going to show both of the fighters' throws, by the way. So that's another thing that I've added is every fighter has both a throw and a body slam. In some cases, it's the same move. So for Liu Kang and the Ninjas, it's the same move. But for Johnny Cage, I added, so there's a throw. It's the same animation on Johnny Cage's part, but for the opponent, it just follows a different path. And then the reason I did that actually was because Kung Lao had to have the two different animations. So, figured I might as well make everybody else take advantage of it as well. Alright, so let's back out of here. And let's show, so Kitana, she was pretty tricky to get going, and so was Scorpion. Scorpion was actually the hardest.
Scorpion, Kitana.
I don't remember offhand what the different versions of these arenas look like, so I'm just going to pick C. It's probably going to be a darker sky. Alright, so Kitana's got, so first we'll do her slice, which is simple, it's just back and high punch. Forward, forward, and both punches. Yep, we get the fan throw. So notice that the blood is disappearing now. That's kind of intentional, so I think when I limited the number of blood drips to help improve performance a little bit. Do this lift. So with this move here that she does, that's another example of once the attack lands, it transitions back to a jump effect. So, yep, it's pretty good. And then her in-air fan throw, which is kind of tricky on these 3DO controllers. There we go. I think that's it for her special, right? Yeah, so that these hitboxes are adjustable, they might need to be tweaked. Alright, now with her throws, same thing. Her animation's the same, it's just what it does to the opponent that's different. Alright, so Scorpion now, show off his moves. So they get over here, the spear. That was pretty tricky. That looks maybe not quite. Oh, so that's interesting. Yeah, so you can see that the rope, the Z index is over Scorpion, so that's something that I need to tweak. So certain fighters, the effect frames are behind the fighter. In certain fighters, they're in front. So with Scorpion, I need to make that be behind him. It's not a big deal, it's just something I need to do. Johnny Cage is another example where all his shadow frames are behind him on purpose. So Scorpion's got to be the same way. Alright, so he's got that one. He's got this leg takedown thing. I don't remember what it is. There it is. Forward, down, back. And then down, back, high punch. Yep. There you go. I don't even know where he is. Somewhere off the screen. Alright, well that's not supposed to happen. Well, Or if Kitana do an uppercut. There we go.
Wins.
Alright, well apparently I gotta fix that bug.
Round 2. Fight.
So get over here. The leg takedown. That one. He must have been too far off the edge of the screen, that's why he didn't show back up again. And then the mid-air jump. So if I have them both jump at the same time. Or I'm sorry, the mid-air throw. Oops. There we go. That one's kind of cool too. Alright, so I'm going to back out now and show. So we have Baraka still. Let's back out. So I'll do Baraka, and then Raiden doesn't have any of his specials implemented yet. We can fight against him anyway. I'll do this arena here, and I'll choose a different background. That looks kind of cool.
Round 1. Fight.
So in this arena, there's almost nothing happening. There's just the 320 by 240 sport background, and then the bridge at the bottom. So if I look at the performance metrics, yeah, 5 milliseconds to render the screen. Wish they were all like that. All right, so Baraka specials. That one here. Now this one. This is the only animation in the game that uses, that I'm aware of anyway so far, that uses that type of blood. And what I actually want to do while there, so it throws I think 24 drips onto the screen if it affects performance. And it doesn't really seem to. Right, turn this back off again. His other one is the spark. I think that's it for Baraka. So that's a new throw that I added. So there's his normal throw. And then this other one I just tweaked his frames where halfway through it just kind of he turns around and goes backwards and just slams the opponent. For Raiden now, I can at least show what his throws look like. So there's his body slam. Oh, I guess his are the same too. Might be Shang Tsung maybe, where I tweak so it's a little bit different. He has a lightning effect also that I need to get in there.
Fight.
Alright, so let's back out. I want to go to Goro's lair and see if performance has improved at all over there. Alright, let's pick Cage again. So his shadow kick and his shadow punch definitely has a negative impact on performance. So I want to kind of see what worst case scenario would look like. I think the other fighters don't really matter. Pick Jax just because he's big.
Jax.
Goro's lair.
Round 1. Fight.
Alright, so when nothing is happening, not so bad. Yeah, so that definitely, so you can see the draw cells time bumps up to 15,000, right? So 15 milliseconds. And then combined with everything else, it gets it right to the edge. So this one is so close to being where it needs to be. So I assume with a few tweaks I can get it so that this is also at 60 frames a second pretty consistently. Yes, the uppercut.
Johnny Cage wins.
I'll switch over to Jax now just to show his gameplay. Yeah, so the in the air flip in this spot right here, where Goro is still in the frame. That seems to be the part that's causing the most problems.
Jax.
Yeah, because over here, it seems to be okay. I don't know if that third one's really 5,000. That's
Fight.
kind of wonky. Yeah, so this arena definitely seems to have the most problems as far as performance goes. And that's interesting, where that number is curved. I've never seen that before, but that's... something is not right. Interesting. Yeah, so that's... I'm actually glad to see that, because that means that there's something wonky with Goro's layer where I'm either not linking the cells properly or I'm not cleaning up something properly afterwards, because it's adjusting the perspective on a cell that it's not supposed to be adjusting. Interesting. Just for the heck of it, let's grab a couple more fighters. Go to a different arena and see if things are broken or fixed. Go to this 3DO arena. Could also be a case of where that cell that I'm using for those numbers is reused from a previous cell that happened to be adjusted on Goro's layer, and I didn't reset its perspective back to normal before I reused it again. That's also possible, and that actually might be what the issue was, but regardless, I'll take a look and see. So this is the new 3DO Desert Arena that I made. I think it's kind of cool. It came from Mortal Kombat 3, and then I just kind of tweaked it a little bit with the 3DO logo and some of the 3DO graphics in the back. Performance here, yeah, performance here looks good. You gotta keep tapping it. Yeah, Kung Lao definitely seems like he's gonna be the most powerful player in the game. So far, anyway. This throw looks a little bit clunky. I might have to tighten that up as well. For a lot of what I'm doing here, I kind of want to get things mostly working, and then go back and fine tune after the fact.
Finish him. Kung Lao wins.
As far as loading times go too, another thing is if you order continue, it's going to instant reload the, it's not unloading anything from memory, so it should very, very quickly get you back into the fight. Alright, let's pick Kitana again, and Reptile. I'll just show one more arena. So this one here, you choose an alternate version. It's a little bit more red than what the default is. I think it looks kind of cool.
Round one. Fight.
That was weird. It was because he was in the process of falling. Interesting. Or another possibility is that Reptile's hitbox isn't set up properly. Let's see. Yeah, so what's happening is her, I don't know if we have to come back this way a little bit more, but her hitbox, or her attack box rather, isn't making contact with his hitbox. Yeah. It's an edge of the screen issue. Now I'm running this game on 480i, so because the game runs at 60 frames a second, any animation that happens, not at a multiple of 2, you might see some kind of funky looking animation. So like this frame here, it's not supposed to look like that. It's supposed to be kind of like wavy up and down, but because it's alternating every single frame, it's looking like that. So I might have to tweak it where every 2 frames it changes what it looks like. Spit. That was kind of cool. And then to come back again. Oh, and he's also got a slide too. I don't think I showed that. Oh, that must not have any damage yet. Yeah.
Reptile wins.
And Kitana's her hip. She must have a hitbox that goes up too high while she's on the ground because the uppercut shouldn't make contact when she's down like that. Yeah, see how her hitbox is really high? Like, she shouldn't be like that. Reptile, I'm pretty sure when he gets knocked back, yeah, his hitbox is much lower. That's what they're supposed to be. So, still a few more things to tighten up. Alright, let me just back out again and show one more arena. And then I'll call it a night.
Johnny Cage, Shaun.
Do a different variation of this one. I think B is the SNES version, if I'm not mistaken.
Round 1. Fight.
And this one, I'm surprised that performance is so good here because there's a lot going on. All the screen is taken up almost entirely by these large cells. What the heck happened there?
Round.
I might have Johnny Cage's jump kick might do a lot of damage, and I think I might have kept that in there. Yeah, I kept that in there on purpose for testing, so I can just kind of like quickly get to the finish him state. Seems to slow down a little bit. Yeah, it's the 3rd and the 4th metric. I need to dig in to see what those are. One of them is definitely what handles the fighter's animation frames. I forgot offhand what the 4th one is, but I'll figure that out. And then Shang Tsung doesn't have any of his specials included yet, but it's really just his fireball projectile, and then where he transitions to all the different fighters. So I think what I'm gonna do is if he transitions into the fighter that he's fighting, it'll just be an instant transform. If he transforms it to somebody else, there's going to be a loading delay because it has to. The fighters are about 500k each, so it's probably going to take about 1.5 seconds, I think, to transition to the other fighter. But there's no way around that. Oh yeah, so I did change it. So he's got a slam and a throw. Yeah, so for something like that, it needs to instant force the direction change on the opponent. So there's 3 arenas right now with the pit fatality. This is one of them, hasn't been coded yet. That's another thing I want to get implemented before I drop an ISO.
Johnny Cage wins.
So I'm gonna wrap it up there. So this one at least didn't crash. Making pretty good progress. There's still obviously a decent amount to do. But I'll probably drop another video update once I have Kung Lao, and then I think there's 5 other fighters after that need to get done. So once that's done, I'll drop another update video, and then again when the 3 arena fatalities are done, and I figured out what the deal is with the memory leak or whatever's going on in the pit arena fatality, I'll drop. That's probably when I'll drop the beta ISO for testing. So thanks everyone. Everybody finds these videos interesting, and if so, another one that I want to do at some point is kind of another coding video, where I can go through kind of high level the code and how things are working now that I've cleaned things up a bit. I think it'll be easier to kind of go through and see how things are working, and hopefully this game can serve as a framework for other 3DO fighters or beat 'em up type games moving forward. So thanks.